It's such a pleasure and honor to have this conversation with you.
Really good to have you.
I think the most important kind of essence of it that I would like to start this conversation with is what is the connection between power and sex?
Power, sex, and money are all deeply connected. So these are the intrinsic primordial forces within our life. Sexuality propels our life force. We're here out of sex.
Hmm.
Our parents made love or had sex, and we came into being. This is the primal energy of life. In India, we call it Shakti, the life force. Every creature is making love and having sex to procreate. Now, of course, this energy as a human, we have it starting young, it gets stronger in our teen years. And then, if we're given wisdom on how to express it properly, then we can continue to expand that sexual power in a very powerful way. If we don't understand how to do that, that same power can degenerate us, can take us on to dark paths, lacking illumination, lacking wisdom, and we see the challenges with that. So sexuality drives our whole being. The depth of our sexuality affects our money and our power. The more we're congruent and know who we are as a male, as a female, the more we're aligned with our energetic wholeness of our sexuality. We love others more potently. We receive love and connection more potently when we're aligned in our sexuality. With our power dynamics, if we don't feel whole in our sexuality, it shows in our craving for power in the world. It shows in the egoic manifestations in the world of if there's an insecurity within our being, or we got trauma or pain or hurt, or we're just bored and we're continuously trying to fill ourselves with something, then sexuality can take our power and utilize it in a negative way. We see this in celebrity culture. We hear about escapades with politicians and leaders in not so healthy ways with others, the utilization of other people egoically. So sex, power, and money are the primordial forces which are in the lower chakras of our being. And when we illuminate them, we grow as a spiritual being. When we squash them, repress them, or we don't illuminate them, then they take over in unhealthy ways.
How come so many men, especially, are so dissatisfied or sometimes even dysfunctional in their ability to express themselves sexually?
First of all, as youngsters,
Hmm.
right? We grow into teenagehood when the energy really starts awakening us. This primordial force of creation starts in puberty, maybe even a little earlier. But there's that feeling of horniness, that feeling of desire for sex and desire for passion and that desire to have union. What it is, it's our spiritual nature which desires union with the feminine, as an example. When we don't understand this and we just see it as just the sex force, then we drop down and we look at what are the things that elicit our sexual desire: pornography, magazines, celebrities, and we get oohed and awed. And what happens is a lot of young men, we get stimulated by the sexual desire. We go off into shame, into hiding in the bathroom, in our rooms. We lock the door. We stimulate ourselves with an image, an experience, because the male mind gets very stimulated by images. And then all of a sudden we masturbate, we release very quickly so no one catches us. And then all of a sudden there's a sense of relief of this energy. And that starts up again. So the cycle of stimulation, hide away, keep secret, ejaculate, release, and then come out as if nothing has happened. When that gets wired over and over and over thousands of times for a young person, what happens is they're training their body to get stimulated, release, and not hold and circulate and mature and allow that energy to flow through us. And then it's also connected with shame, guilt, and repression. Add to that, we have family dynamics, which might have very strong moral overtones, that sex is bad or unreligious or less than holy. Add all of that, add societal structures around all of that. So a lot of men are carrying around this baggage,
Yeah.
suffocating, crushing our sexual energy. And then they go the other way. They might go, okay, I've had enough of this. I'm going to do what I want. I want to release it any way I want. And so then they go to the other extreme, from repression to total, like a water hose, turning it on and spraying it everywhere. And so we see the cause in that: unwanted pregnancies, unwanted diseases. We see a feeling of life force draining from them. Why? Because this is the most sacred, potent energy, and it must be brought to wisdom. Carry this on into adult life. We see leaders of organizations. We see leaders who seek all types of, and even aberrations. They seek some types of ways where they're trying to fulfill that sexual desire for oneness, but they don't know it's the desire for oneness. And so they go into darker dimensions, disconnected from the heart, craving more and more lustful things, which never fulfill the soul. So those are some of the manifestations of this contracted or overly released energy.
You were talking about men, dark and light aspects of sexuality. How does that pertain to women?
The need in the feminine being is to be seen, loved, appreciated, cherished, and entered fully. It's intrinsic in the feminine body, mind, spirit. When this need to be filled with love, with consciousness, with presence, with divine presence, which is ultimately behind all the charades of the ego, is what the real soul is yearning for. When it's not met, then what happens is the female ego starts to create a persona of what they think they need to be. If I dress this way, if I live up to these standards, if I do this tummy tuck and this thing, and I do this shaping of myself, it's a type of shaping of their inner reality, which they feel will be more of an attractive magnetic force to get the love they want and the connection that they're yearning for. But that too proves as an illusion, because real conscious men aren't looking for the superficiality that is being projected now that we see. They're yearning for the wholeness of a true, sacred, illuminated, liberated woman in her being. So what can a woman experience if she realizes that she is the light, that she is profoundly worthy of not just attention? If she realizes that she's really yearning for contact, genuine soul-to-soul contact, then she can let go of her egoic habits that she might have picked up as a teenager. If I dress up this way, then I'll get guys' attention. Then she illuminates and goes into her goddess, true embodied goddess nature, where instead of from her emptiness, she paints herself and adorns herself. It's from the fullness of her heart. She radiates her genuine female feminine beauty. Now that magnetizes someone who meets the depth of her heart's longing.
When you have invited us men to embrace and have this direction as sexuality to be a form of a sacred union with their partner, why there is so much dysfunctionality in the male expression of sexuality?
Especially even the successful,
Exactly.
especially the successful ones, because what happens is we carry a mantle as successful businessmen, business leaders, leaders on the planet. We have to show ourselves with strong spines, like we are somebody, that we mean something, that we are of potency. Why? We're masculine, and the masculine energy is like the phallus, the penis. It's out in the world and penetrative. Dysfunction happens, especially for leaders, as they go deeper and deeper in their leadership. It happens because they're not touching the innate freedom of their own true nature. They're seeking freedom outside of themselves. So if they're seeking freedom in outside pursuits, more power, more money, more accolades, more reputation, more significance, usually those desires are rooted in some kink within ourselves that is trying to appease our father figure or our mother figure or society's roles. It's not coming from our true soul's calling. It comes from imprints that we've taken on. And so the ego grows, grows, grows. It can get into the presidency of the United States of America and do something, unwise, like allow yourself to have a sexual encounter underneath the desk of the White House, as we've seen former president almost fall, but somehow made it through. Why? Because that power grows, but it doesn't grow the soul. It grows the ego. And the ego is voracious in its appetite for more, more, more. You appease it a little bit, it wants more. You give it a little bit more, it wants more. We think it'll be a final end. The male illusion is one day when I have XYZ, the wife that looks like this, the money that looks like that, the cars that look like that, whatever it is, then I'll be free. And that's an illusion. Freedom is already part of our inherent spiritual nature. Spiritual practice is discovering, awakening, and embodying the freedom we already have. When we embody the freedom that we already are, we avoid the pitfalls of our ego lassoing our sexual desire and going offline with it.
Is there a component of the exposure to porn or other unhealthy or unrealistic form of expression that some men may want to pursue, and that causes at the end the erectile dysfunction or other form of behavioral dysfunctional in expressing the sexual desires?
There's a lot of science out on that nowadays, that pornography and continuous watching of pornography, obviously it's giving us a wrong imprint. True lovemaking is not there. But there's this elicitation of that high, the quick erection, the stimulation that happens, and we're just recounting the same thing that we did as a youth. Right? And so you get that quick erection, quick desire, quick release through masturbation, and all of a sudden there's a feeling of, I'm free for a few moments. There's that relinquishment of all responsibilities, all the things in the mind, everything for about 5, 10 seconds, and then it starts to all come back in. We don't recognize that. We don't realize that. The wise tantric masters, they taught me, go to the end of when you ejaculate. What's the emotional, energetic, spiritual dimension, that feeling of when you start there in your lovemaking, then you'll still feel the sexual urge in your body, but you'll slow down the passionate desire for ejaculation and immediate release. And then you start to mature that energy, and it starts to rise closer to your heart. Then when you start to feel and cultivate opening your heart, love of yourself, love and acceptance of who you are as a man, love and acceptance of who you are as a sexual being, love and acceptance of who you are as a noble person on the planet, here to make a positive impact, then the sexual energy rises to the heart area, matures the sexual energy, the heart infuses the sex force, and all of a sudden now, truly, your sexuality becomes more divinely experienced, expressed, and whole. Now you're not leaking all over the place. You're not sucking to try to get sex. You're an emanation of whole, embodied masculine presence.
It seems, at least on the surface, that lots of men complain that they want to have more sex, or they don't have enough.
Yes.
But then they're also not satisfied with what they have. How do you change that? What do you do about it?
But first of all, is to own that if you want more sex, you want more sex. And it's natural to desire more sex, and not to make yourself wrong or to take moral cues from others that more sex is bad. No, more sex is your desire to consummate consciousness with light at an esoteric metaphysical level. We think of it just as I want more sex, but really it's a call of the soul to say you want more fulfillment and consummation of life force. And you want the life force to move through you. So, number one, de-guilt yourself. Set the guilt aside for that desire and recognize you're a vital, solid, sexual man, and that's a good thing. Now, the next step is get responsible and recognize it's a responsibility to have that potency, that virility inside yourself. So it is sacred, it's holy, but it's also a responsibility. How do we master this energy? How do we grow it in a way that's wholesome and powerful for us? Owning I am a sexual, powerful, vital, virile being. Now you allow that feeling to go through your body. When you're turned on by some image, or you're turned on by a woman, or you're in the office, rather than gawk with your energy or with your eyes, allow yourself to receive and see they are the feminine counterpart. They're the feminine pole to your masculine desire. Depersonalize it from making it about that person or them, and recognize they are eliciting something within our own response. This is your own response. It's not just due to them. It's because two poles get evoked, the masculine and the feminine. Their feminine is evoking your masculine energy. So own that it's a sacred, energetic experience. Now, depersonalize it from them. Allow that energy to flow through the body. So what you do is you say, thank you inside for awakening my Shakta, which is what the yogis call it. Shakti is the goddess. Shakta is the God force. Have a bow of reverence in your soul. You could do this all quietly. It doesn't have to be overt. It's an honorable, respectful approach to who's eliciting you. Now, breathe that energy down the front surface of your body. It's going to want to pool in your genitals. And then on the exhalation, let it rise up your spine with a visualization and an intention. Let it open up like a blowspot, like a dolphin. Then breathe it down the front, up the spine, like a circle. And the more you do this, your nervous system will calm down. The sexual life force will actually get stronger. It'll get smoother. You'll become even more magnanimous in the space. Your presence will grow. And now, instead of contracting into oinking energy, you'll be expanding into sacred energy. And although people won't consciously know this is happening, they will feel this is a man in control of himself. There's nothing more sexually of a turn on to a woman that a man is strong in his sexual life force, but is not craving for you, not attached to it, not needs to grab you, but he's there. Then you become the magnet to open her like a flower, rather than you go in like a drill.
Sometimes sex becomes a distraction. We've seen that in politics, we've seen that in entertainment, when someone who is extremely creative, extremely passionate about what they do, but the sexual desires and dysfunctions are taking over. How do you help your clients overcome that, both for men and women?
The first step is realizing that as you grow in power, acclaim, as you grow in capacity in the world, prominence, as you grow in significance, as you grow as a creative being, so does your sex force. So does your energy, your vitality, your virility. And it's to own and recognize they're going to grow together. It's not compartmentalizing these things. Here's my power, my potency in the world, my reach, my growth in my work, my business, my impact. You have to recognize there's no compartmentalization, that the sex force will also grow. And if you keep it separate, clouded, shrouded, repressed, then it's going to want to seek some form of release and experience that's not wholesome with your whole being. This is where we hear in celebrity culture, we hear Hollywood has dropped deep into depravity in some ways. Why? Because the ego has fulfilled all its sexual desire at a basic human level. Now it's seeking more stimulation. And so it seeks more stimulation, and it does that for the next few months or year. Now what? I've already been stimulated with all of that, but now it's boring again. What's next? And so we go plummet deeper, and can go all the way into depravity, where we're self-harming ourselves, harming others, using others. And we see the worst manifestations of this in slavery of others, sexual slavery of others. I mean, this is the worst horrific manifestation of the ego gone wild, and the dark forces within ourselves giving us over to the dark forces of life. Open up and realize that the divine existence has infused us with this sexual potency, and to merge them, to invite the grace of consciousness, of our highest expression, our most divine, sweet connection with the allness, with the Almighty, with God, into those areas within ourselves where we're constantly seeking instant gratification. Instant gratification is the ego's boredom and the ego's protection from evolving. And so this connection where you invite the sacred to come in, to infuse and allow and welcome your sex to open up into something more pure, more wholesome. This is one of the most sacred steps.
And good for the entire society, community, and humanity. And how specifically, let's say someone is listening to our conversation, someone who is powerful, CEO, politician, entertainer, whatever their position is, and they're a little bit confused, or maybe Me Too movement helped them understand the mistakes they have made or they are potentially are going to make. How would you specifically invite them to change? What would you do?
The first thing that I do is called karma clearing, integrity clearing. Regarding our sex, what have we done that we think we shouldn't have done?
Mm.
By our own estimation. What have we done to others and to ourselves that we think we shouldn't have done? It's important to have a sacred container where that can be heard without judgment, received and understood. So you're not sitting on the guilt and the charge of what's been done. That needs to be rectified. That needs to be shone a light on, first and foremost. If not, the ego that has not had light shine on it will continue to work in the dark, in the subterranean corners, and continue to pull at your higher noble purpose and your higher noble motives in your being. So first, we need the courage, the vulnerability to show up with someone who can hold that space in a dignified, clear way. Say, okay, what have you done regarding sex that you think you shouldn't have done?
Mhm.
Number two, how do you think that affected yourself and others? And then number three, what would you do differently now?
Mhm.
What would you differ? How would you live now knowing this in the past? That doesn't happen in one discussion. It takes the willingness to dive into this out of integrity with your own soul, with your own inner ethic. What have you not done? What have you failed to do with your sexual energy that you think you should have done? I could have taken more time. I could have been more patient, not so forceful. How do you think that affected yourself and others by not taking into account your sexual life force in the highest? What would you do differently now from the higher state of consciousness and introspection that you've done? This karmic clearing of what you've done and what you've failed to do according to your own inner standard
Mhm.
is essential for leaders today
Mm.
to do. Why? Because without it, it takes over
Mhm.
and it controls us. The ego grabs it, the darkness within ourselves grabs it, and we descend it ultimately into the pits of hell around it.
And that goes for both men and women.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It just shows up in different manifestations. With the masculine, it's the conquest.
Mhm.
With the feminine, it's the attention.
Mm.
It's the filling. With the masculine, it's the emptying.
In your opinion, are men more masculine when they're promiscuous?
We're masculine, whether we're promiscuous or not.
Mhm.
There's different stages in development of our masculine. We can be in a contracted me stage of our masculine, of I want this, I want that, I want sex this way, I want to grab. It's that grabbing, lustful, wanting, owning,
Mhm.
that type of energy. It's still masculine, but it's not the widest and deepest expression of our being. The second stage masculine is the repressed. I'm going to neutralize my masculine
Mm.
and I'm going to be more feminine.
Mm.
We see this in a lot of new age circles where men have squashed or relinquished their masculine because they've seen the negative ramifications of the unhealthy, what we call toxic or unconscious masculine. And so they swing to the other end and they lose their spine and they open their heart. The first stage masculine, this me is a lot of spine but less heart. The second stage masculine swings the other way, opens his heart, but he loses masculine potency. Why? To protect the pains of the past. But then you lose your potency, your virility.
Mhm.
You become neutralized, floundering in life. The third stage is where you recognize my spine is online, My heart is online. And now you're a whole masculine life force to be reckoned with, to be respected, naturally calling and gaining people's attention and respect, naturally growing in significance, potency, and impact.
How come there's so many, it seems to be, very powerful, very successful, high-achieving men who have plenty lovers, mistresses, sugar babes, and still are not satisfied?
Because they're not filling their soul. They're just filling their desires. A man, regardless of his position and status and success in life, who continues to chase constant desire becomes desireless, becomes owned by desire. The essence is what we're truly seeking as men, as masculine beings, is ultimate freedom from the constraints of life. We've been imprinted that if we have these hot girls and lots of sexual escapades, we have the feeling of temporary relief of freedom, temporary freedoms. Build up of sexual desire, consummate it, release. Okay, freedom. But it's not touching the freedom of our soul, body, our deepest essence is yearning for. And so we continue to crave it more and more. We fill ourselves up with external goodies, more and more goodies to show, to prop up our ego. Look at all these women, look at all the chicks, look at all the girls, look at all the cars, look at all my success. Why? It's the peacocking of the ego to show that you're a somebody, or to show yourself you're a somebody. And ultimately, when you walk down the spiritual path within, you become less of a somebody. You become less and less of a somebody, and you must be willing to ultimately go to become a nobody. And that's the deepest fear of successful men, is to become so nobody that we dissolve into emptiness. And that's actually the path home to a fulfillment that transcends and purifies and heals these aberrations of the ego. And instead of trying to be remembered by our escapades or remember our own escapades and check off our marks, what if we were to transform that whole energy, allow ourselves to become zero in ego, and become the manifestation of freedom, and to evoke and offer and give freedom and help others attain deeper soul freedom, freedom of life, freedom of experience, and we become a servant to that. We reverse the voracious desire to be free through escapades, and now we become a force of creating freedom, which uplifts, purifies, and nurtures the souls of all beings.
What would you suggest to be more in control?
Place the attention on yourself. The attention is going to want to be on the object of desire, the person, the individual, the desirable object. Bring the attention back to the self, to physiology. How does this feel? Bring your attention back to what are the mental thoughts in my being regarding this. Bring your attention to the emotions this is evoking and feel that desire. Bring your attention to the body sensations, to all of that. And then ask yourself this: if I go down that road of pursuing that temptation, is it good for them? Will it bring more wholeness, goodness, beauty? Will it bring more to myself?
Right.
Because when the desire comes on strong, we don't think about any of that. We want what we want. And the more potent, powerful we are, the more ego we have to express. And ego wants everything for itself, here, now, immediate. This contemplation is the act of sacred responsibility to feel, if I go down that road, what are the ramifications? And are they uplifting community, society, the circle, each other, your family? Or is it degenerating and closing? You'll know immediately in your being. And then warriorship is saying, I go for the higher road and I release the lower road of instant gratification. I take into account this contemplation of responsibility that I've just taken on. That alone is a sacred path.
Mhm.
And when you do that, all of a sudden, the force of the universe joins you.
Mhm.
That temptation now turns into an opportunity of wisdom, benevolence, and paradoxically, even more potent, wholesome sexual life force. The path of warriorship, the path of becoming a warrior sage, is total responsibility of our sex, power, and money.
Mm.
Total responsibility. And blooming it from me, growing it to we, and expanding it to be a good force for all beings.
So when someone has realized or understood the fact that there is some dysfunction, how much inner work is required in order to address that, both for men and women?
There's no end to the inner work. The inner work is a path of life. So how much is not actually a proper question. It's how real you want to be with walking the path of inner work,
Mhm.
walking the path of the spiritual warrior, walking the path of the awakened sage, the
Mhm.
warrior sage within. Once you embark on that journey, there's no end.
Never stop.
It becomes a joy. It's continuously evolving. It's continuously wisening us, continuously making us a greater potent being on the planet. Why would you want it to end?
I encountered lots of couples recently where women are complaining that their partners have no time, no energy.
What we need to do is reprioritize the ego's demands and prioritize our soul's fulfillment. And the soul's fulfillment comes through connection with our loved ones. It all starts there. It's not accumulation and success. And so we just have to shift. We got to shift the course, the navigation from outwardness to inwardness. And the journey begins and it becomes magnanimous and grand right from there. And then we can dedicate and say, listen, my love, my children, they need my presence,
Mm.
which is the ultimate gift we can give our lovers, ultimate gift we can give our children, our teams, our community, is our undistracted, unfettered, loving, conscious presence.
Mm.
When we recognize that that's what others truly want, it's what we really want, then the prioritization will naturally balance itself.
So what happens if someone gives themselves to the dark desires without consciousness, without ability to do the inner work? They just allow themselves to be free to express in whatever way they feel fit in the moment.
If you continue to succumb to the ego's desire for more and more sexual gratification without heart, without soul, it's a descending journey that starts off as an appeal of the ego and sexual excitement, but quickly degenerates
Mhm.
into lackluster feelings, a weakening of your body mind, a weakening of your presence, a lack of trust in yourself, more suppression of your being. And then that leads to less feelings of goodness about who you are, self-depreciation,
Mhm.
which then leads to even more dangerous, dark, and ultimately, dare I say, demonic states of being, where you open yourself up to the demonic in the world, in yourself. First thing with men to get it together is to recognize and to own that we are strong, sexual, potent beings.
Mhm.
We don't have to have guilt. And then to say, okay, the next step is just like any sport. Start as a beginner on the path of Tantra. Tantra means the path of evolution and understanding and wisdom of our sexual potency and our embodiment as a man on the planet. And so start the path. That's the first thing.
Right.
The first thing is to say, I want to start on the path of self-mastery.
Mhm.
That claim, that foot down, that drawing the line, the not going backward, will call the universe to support you in that step.
But it's not only for men.
And women, women as well, to feel I am a sexual potent goddess
Mhm.
and I deserve to be loved and cherished the way my body, mind, spirit is yearning for. I deserve that. And they too can say, this is my starting path.
Mhm.
I'm going to take the path of evolving myself as a tantric goddess,
Mhm.
as a lover of life, as a lover of myself, as a passionate embodied goddess.
Mhm.
And I shall start now, and it doesn't matter what's happened in the past, so be it. Today's my first day. That declaration
Mhm.
stands as a beginner
Mhm.
and remaining as a beginner. I'm still a beginner.
Right.
Doesn't matter, 20, 30 years I've been practicing, studying, married 37 years. There is no arrival.
Right.
There's the enjoyment of the unfolding path.
It seems that men seem to be getting themselves into cheating and lying and hiding and exploring dark sides of that. What would you recommend for someone who wants to change that?
If you're cheating,
Mm.
you're not being honest in your communication with your lover, with your
And
partner,
yourself.
and yourself. You're not being honest and saying and sharing, there's something that I feel I'm lacking, I'm missing, I'm yearning for in our sexual desire, in our play, in our passions. It takes, first of all, the courage to get vulnerable with yourself. And you need to muster up that courage and say, okay, what am I not getting that I'm desiring, that I'm yearning for, that's outside of the crucible of my relationship? You got to ask yourself that. And you got to get real with it. Then the next courageous step is to actually sit down in a sacred space with your lover and say, I am desiring this. More wildness, more softness, more caring, more craziness, whatever it is there anything you're yearning for? Is there anything you're craving more for? Because with your lover, there's always a reciprocal of what she's wanting, yearning and craving and desiring from you that you're not giving her. It always comes in two. It doesn't come in one. I'm sharing this not because there's anything missing in you. I just want you to know what I'm yearning for. Can we explore this?
Right.
Can we study together? Can we go online? Can we study with teachers? Can we go to trainings or workshops and learn how to enjoy what and give each other more of what we would want of each other so that we're not desirous to go outside of this sacred crucible?
So to summarize this very, very in-depth conversation of your work, what are the daily practices that you would recommend for men and women?
Let's start with the men.
Mm-hmm.
There's a triad of empowerment within us as a sexual potent being, as a masculine warrior within ourselves. To awaken our sagehood, the wisdom with these powers, we need to turn on and wisen up three dimensions. Three.
Okay.
The first one, the daily practice, is cultivating our presence. Walking around being here now, not allowing ourselves to get distracted when we're with our friends, our teammates, especially our lovers, our partners, our children. Don't allow all these other thoughts. Cut them off. Bring our full embodied presence. Breathe down the front surface of your body. Soften the front surface of your body. Let your eyes connect deeply to those you love in front. Let your heart warm and soften and connect deeply. And if it's your lover, then penetrate her deeply with your presence of being. So presence, unperturbable. Start grounding and developing it so that you can last longer, not just in bed, but last longer in presence.
In the moment.
The next one is claim. Get clear. What do I stand for? What will I not tolerate? What will I tolerate? What are my virtues? What are my values? What are my non-negotiables? Wake up in the morning, turn on your presence, and now what do you claim that day? I claim I will commit to these three actions. I commit that this is what I will do today. Claim comes with commitment. Claim is your stance in the world. Cultivate that and your power will grow. The third part is penetration, which is bringing your presence, your claim, into an actual, realized, fulfilled way in the world. It's not just talking the talk, walking the talk. So it comes from silent power penetration. So what you present to, what you claim, now you do silently, potently. You bring it through to completion. So whatever task, whatever goal, whatever ambition, whatever you wish to deliver, you deliver it. You penetrate the world with it, and all of a sudden you'll start to magnetize more and more auspicious experiences and more synchronicities to you. For women, the reciprocal of those three energetics to cultivate on a daily basis, to grow, to empower themselves, are invitation, surrender, and expression. So as a daily practice, wake up in the morning. What do I invite into my heart? What experiences do I invite to myself? Cultivating, looking at yourself with inviting of yourself out in life. Cultivating, what do I invite in love today? In whatever way, small way, big way, beautiful way, through dance, through music, through how you move, through how you adorn yourself. Invite life daily. The next one is surrender. Where are you gripping on to life too strongly? Where can you allow life to be relinquished and surrender to the great force, to God, to life? Where are you holding the tight grip of control that you can release and allow your lover perhaps to take on, or allow the divine to receive and take on? So, invitation and then surrender. This opens the feminine empowerment field in your body profoundly. And the last is expression. How can I express myself today? What do I need to express? What words need to be expressed? What emotions need to be expressed today that I've never expressed? How full can I express myself without holding back of what's truly in my heart, whether that's pain, sadness, positivity, happiness, ecstasy, joy, benevolence, invitation, surrender, expression.
Thank you so much. It was beautiful, very enlightening as always. Every conversation with you is the same outcome. And for those who would like to learn more and follow and take some of your work, consultation or events or workshops, where would they go? How would they find out more?
You can find us at warriorsage.com. We're on all social media channels. We're on LinkedIn. You can find my name personally, Satyen Raja, and I'd be happy to connect.